Hello, everybody. Welcome here. It's a beautiful Sunday to practice some dignity. We have some role plays today to bring dignity into form, into examples that we have in our lives. But welcome here.
Welcome, everyone. Hello, everyone. Hi, we're here at Theater Y. There's quite a few, and I might, okay, there's quite a few of us here. Makoto, if you want to come up, you can say hi too. And I just want to bring folks up real quick. We're going to be doing some dignity role plays together here today. Some of us are all together at Theater Y in the city of Chicago, and feel free to introduce yourselves, our other players who are remote players around the nation. Hello, feel free to say hi.
Hello, I'm Tim. Good to be here.
Yeah, and I might as well introduce myself. I'm Amelia, she, hers, and we're going to be doing some dignity role plays, and you're going to have a chance in the audience to also dialogue with us and talk about what kinds of things matter to you about this. Are we doing it right? Are we? Is there another solution we consider? All these things.
Is there another problem?
Yeah, is there another problem? Is there a problem? Yeah, right. Like
that's always my favorite.
There's a lot of this stuff here today, but we're about to start with a fresh role play. We got 3 role plays for you today. I'm Amelia. And so we're about to get started, and we'll be starting now on our first role play. Jay and I will be doing it together, and so we're going to start now. Cheat out.
You have to make like heard it kind of.
What the hell? You just bumped it. Don't you see the trains right here? Come on.
I'm sorry. Yes, I see that. I'm sorry.
Whatever. So that was the role play we just did. Let me let's bring folks back on to talk about this. What did everybody notice about this? And if you're in the audience, by the way, feel free to share what you noticed.
Jay, your little face was hard to watch. Because I've been that person so many times where I mess up somehow in public, but there isn't really time or space or inclination on anyone's part to like actually mend whatever rupture has occurred.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of just like, oh, I can add that. Like as you walk away, I always think to myself, I can just add that to the long list, the running list of, intentional or unintentional, terrible or less terrible faux pas in my life.
Yeah.
I better be keeping that list because otherwise,
Yeah.
it's all chaos.
Beautifully said. That's exactly why I was inspired to think about it. Common example, but yeah.
Yeah, it was good.
Right, it's something that can happen to all of us, really. And so and I see Tim also had a remark here. Tim said somebody was very upset. And so what else did folks notice here? What did you notice? What happened here? What happened? And how did we react?
Well, definitely, Amelia's role is really extremely self-involved, and then didn't seem to care about the other's feeling or situation. I mean, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I understand it. It is not the, safe environment. I guess that's, riding on a train platform and then you can fall. Yeah, I mean, you do want to always think about the other's dignity and then think about, I mean, her reaction was extremely self-involved, and then I have been in a situation like that in a more violent way, actually. Yeah, so it is. Yeah, I actually, that was when I was in New York and in Times Square, and then I was trying to get in the, I think it was Times Square, but they were trying to get in the train, and then somebody pushed me out from the door really violently, and then get the F out, and then
Yeah.
I was just, yeah.
That's a lot, right? Like
Yes.
somebody to be so like aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, extremely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that did actually remind me of that. This scene actually
Yeah.
reminded me
Yeah.
of
Yeah,
that.
these indignities can happen so quick.
Yeah.
Well, and what you shared too, Makoto, is we've been practicing this dignity for a while. There's a lot here, but one of the elements of dignity, we have a visualization here today to help understand the framing. Dr. Donna Hicks has these elements of dignity, and one you tapped directly into is safety. If somebody's safety comes into question, what happens to dignity? What happens with our feelings of the interactions that happen in public?
Yeah.
I mean, something I noticed right away and that I recognize from my own life is like I walk around in this building sometimes, but also out in the world, insulated in some way, like with my AirPods in my ears or my
Exactly.
headphones on, or reading something or writing something, because walking around that way makes me feel safer in a way to be out in public, in spaces that can so easily tip over into overstimulation, where then I just like can't recover my sense of autonomy for the rest of the day. But those insulating elements have unintended consequences very often, that because you're not giving your full attention to your surroundings, right? And so it can lead to these like major kind of ruptures of our own dignity. To know my personal safety and my sense of independence, number 5 and 7 of Hicks's elements of dignity, can, if pursued without any awareness to anyone else's sense of safety or independence, can lead to like the loss of safety and independence for everyone, for multiple people.
Makes me think of The Great Gatsby, that line about two people being careless. What is that? Does anyone remember that line off?
Yeah, Daisy and Tom were careless people. That's the ending of the book, where the narrator, that's my mom's favorite line from it. Well, maybe second favorite. That Daisy and Tom, these core kind of characters, go around in the world creating messes due to their own ego or just solipsistic kind of frivolity, and then it's left to the rest of us to like look at those pieces and see if anything can be recovered. And of course, the main character is writing this or he's relating this from inside a sanitarium, right? So that was F. Scott's answer. It's like, maybe it can't be recovered.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, something I noticed because of the good acting that I was really mad at Jay. Why you don't pay attention? And then I was mad at myself because I recognized that's what I've had that happen. When it does happen, I feel like no one's going to accept any apology. There's nothing I can do. Why you're such a bad person. So you triggered all these just with the good acting, because I can relate to it so much and what it really does to you. You feel like I'm no good and there's nothing I can do, and why do I keep screwing up? Just in that 30-second, 20-second role play.
Absolutely, and I could barely, I don't know if anybody caught it, but I could kind of be barely bothered to take my headphones down, and I still even have my phone up, and I was trying to explain myself defensively, kind of. So
Right. So there's being the victim.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You have to open yourself to the idea that you, like, without trying to disassemble or like hide behind explanation.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
No, exactly.
Well, yeah, I mean, and this is this notion that like in a conflict, very often in a conflict, like it's not that one person was just totally innocent and unrelated to somebody else, and all of a sudden the other person is the demon, right?
Right.
It's very often more complex than that. It's more nuanced. Sometimes people have been antagonizing each other in small ways, and then it blows up into something that is lopsided, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there's not a deeper story there, right? That's more complex. Sharon, I saw you had made a remark as well in the chat. Do you want to share your remark?
Sure. I noticed that the woman who was walking by that got knocked into also was looking down at the time. And I just wondered, maybe she had, or does she have responsibility for some of what happened?
Perhaps, but it's maybe hard to see from the angle, but it was me that checked her, and but yeah, that's kind of impossible to tell exactly, probably from that angle.
I think it's a great point, honestly, because while I was looking around a little bit and I kind of watched Jay hit me in slow motion, right? Like there's this moment where I'm like, he's gonna do it, and I'm helpless in that way, right? But like I'm part of this, right? Like it's not to say that I'm perfectly innocent, and I'm looking in my book too, right? Like, and so it's not a one-sided thing, and yeah.
Well, and an added layer as well that maybe I wasn't mapping in so super consciously or intentionally, but I've talked about this with my partner that very often we live in a society, it's a bit patriarchal, right?
And you're exactly where you're going.
And a lot of times men or male presenting people, they're not going to cede space on the sidewalk. I'm not changing my course for anything and anybody. So we see it a lot, out there. And my partner actually goes to the extreme of saying, like, I'm going to make them run into me. I'm not moving for them. So.
One of my friends from grad school, in fact, a woman, for like a month, made the sort of like oath to herself that she wasn't going to get out of anyone's way on public transit, in classrooms, whatever. She was just going to like barrel ahead. And she got knocked down more than a couple of times, like physically knocked down. And yeah, it was an interesting experiment.
Well, did she
for her.
change afterwards?
I think that she was interested in seeing like the anger that would come of that, if that anger could be turned into something constructive for her. Because a lot of getting out of someone else's way is like tamping down of the like low level kind of resentment or anger that you feel on like a regular basis. And she was just tired of that, like at a low level.
Yeah, and hopefully it would let the person that just barreled into somebody without looking or changing, maybe part of the goal to get them to like recognize.
Yeah, maybe it's like in a basketball game or something, when it's like someone's like really like flagrantly catching a foul.
But
Yeah. I don't think that she was very hopeful that she had,
affected.
right, that there were many like learning moments.
To dismantle the patriarchy.
Exactly.
I mean, because I was thinking about when I saw this scene, I immediately thought about my experience at the Times Square. But another thing that I was thinking about is that there's something that my wife mentioned when she went to Japan, and she was amazed about how everybody seemed to aware of their surroundings. And then, Japan is a lot more, the busy and crowded, the country, and then especially in like a train station, inside a train. And then, but they always seem to be aware of where they are. And then, so they rarely bumped into anybody.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's what she said, that she was really amazed in that really crowded country, but they seem to know where they are all the time. And then, well, I kind of know what it is, because maybe I told you that, just because Japan is a country where they really value the harmony.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, I haven't been to Japan for that long time. Well, I mean, I was recently back in Japan, but that was a really important value. Always think of others. Not yourself. Think of others, and then so the same thing. So when you always aware that. Like when you bump into each other, it's not one size fault. Because if both of them are aware, or one side is at least aware, that wouldn't have happened.
Exactly. Well, it's interesting you share that, because I mean, this is different nations, different countries, but neighboring. I was just in Shanghai, and I was there. The city, the flow there felt such an intentional, harmonious way. When I come back to the U.S., it just feels a bit
chaos.
a bit like chaos. So
selfish chaos.
Yeah, the hecticness definitely went up coming back home. So and we have maybe different scenarios. Like brutal capitalism is definitely one that I know feel a lot here, but there's also so many other factors too. Like you mentioned culturally. Appreciation of harmony, it's nice to hear, because we could probably use some of that.
Yeah. So like I think in your case, the friend's case, like why do you have to get angry to begin with anyway? Why isn't she like aware of all the surroundings, and then she didn't have to hit anybody anyway. As long as she knows all the surroundings, and she doesn't have to get angry.
I think
so this is good, and I don't want to cut you off. This is good because we're starting to get into solutions now, and I want to give time for what you're saying too. But what you're saying, Kodo, is that one thing a person can do to prevent this is just be aware, be present, right? And let's think about, is there an element of dignity that relates to? If we're looking at the elements of dignity, I'm going to put them up on the slide too.
Oh yeah, thanks.
Maybe understanding a little bit just that somebody else's path and commute is something that you can factor in, consider from their perspective. But yeah,
I think that fairness was something that my friend that I was talking about felt like was really lacking, and so she was trying to force some artificial kind of accountability on someone else who was failing to treat to share the road.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Fairness.
and have that awareness.
Quality wise and
Quality.
Right. I think in some sense that, she has some sort of maybe a superior attitude or something that because she doesn't want to, I guess, maybe
It does
people-
take some level of ego to be able to
exactly, yeah.
pursue that
Yeah.
as an experiment, because I didn't come up with that experiment. she was a better man than I, that's for sure.
I guess you don't want to be a pushover all the time, but it's just like if here's the public place and then we're sharing the whole space with others,
Yeah.
it's not your space, it's everybody's space. Why don't we just share the space?
Well, and
If you
yeah.
bump into each other, it's your problem too.
Yeah, and that touches on inclusion. Everybody in the space is worthy of the space.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I heard somebody on the in the room say something.
I was going to mention acknowledgement when you acknowledge the presence of others in public spaces. That's about recognizing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Recognition is part of that. Acknowledgement. So whether you're in the audience or whether you're on stage right now, are there any solutions or anything that you'd want Jay and I to test? Because we're going to role play this again, and we have what we think would be a nice solution to this too. But we want to try. Does anybody want us to try anything real quick? I mean, if we're both really present, that'd be that'd be a less interesting role play, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It would be a whole different role play potentially, but no, yeah, I'd love to hear if folks have other perspectives. I gained a lot from hearing these ways people can be considered. But if there's any other solutions that we could try.
And by the way, when we're coming up with solutions, when we do this, we're doing this scenario to help ourselves be better in these scenarios, right? So for instance, you don't have to have both people obliterate all the conflict. We're just saying like if Jay bumps into me, what could Jay have done differently? What could I have done differently?
Yeah.
Those are separate considerations, but even one person considering that could make a very big difference. Is there anything that comes to mind for folks that we haven't said already? Do we have any other choices? Are there any other considerations we haven't made?
I'd be curious to know what your second option scenario is. And I don't personally have any other suggestions at this point.
Yeah, we can just roll the second iteration.
Yeah, you want to see what Jay and I came up with as our solution? And this is not even getting deep. This is just a little bit of this is a solution, but it's a little solution. Oh, and in this scenario, I'm still going to be the same person, basically. Jay's the one who's going to make changes. That's not to say that my character couldn't have.
Can you believe that? Can you believe that she said that? It was just like really wild. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I need to be more attentive.
The train is down there. You could have heard me.
I really do. And the train could be coming any moment. I was on the phone. It's no excuse. I'm really sorry.
Do you see how upset I am?
I do, and it makes sense. The fact that a train could literally come by at any moment. Look how close we are to the tracks. I'm sorry. I need to be more attentive.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you for Thank you for that.
No, I apologize. I will be more attentive, and I hope you have a nice day.
Well, I guess, you're saying that, I guess I could point out that, I could have had my eyes up a little bit more too.
Sure, but I was just barreling down. I had my headphones in, my noise canceling. That's not safe, and I apologize.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Booyah.
And scene.
So thank you. What did you all notice? And feel free to come back up if you want to, if you have more to say.
I noticed that Jay put his phone down right away rather than continue to hold it while he was apologizing the first time.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the first time you were that's something I didn't notice. The first time you were actually looking in your phone, the second time.
I didn't even take my headphones all the way off the first time. It was like this. I still had my phone. I was like, yeah, and this time I was just, you know what? I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, good catch, Sharon.
Did anyone else notice anything else?
The hand gestures were nice. The body movement, the bow. Did it feel different when you got an apology that came with a body expression like that?
It was different for me because the first time, just speaking at how I was feeling in my gut, the first time, I didn't feel any kind of connection or anything that Jay was maybe trying to get rid of me in some sense, right? But not necessarily trying to connect with me. At first, actually, when Jay apologized to me the first time, I was not even hearing it. I was so mad. I was so angry. I didn't even hear it really. And then Jay was persistent about it and stayed with me and recognized me after that. And that made a lot of difference. It made a lot of difference.
Yeah. Yeah, Kevin.
So the first role play, I was mad at Jay. The second one, not so much, because I saw in his heart, he was truly concerned. He expressed it multiple times. He clearly acknowledged the safety issue. I would just make a reference to Donna Hicks, how all of us are precious. So if you think about it, if we have a child up near the train, we're explaining, oh, step back this way, be careful this way, don't step up there, be careful here. And carrying more of that preciousness with us all the time, even if we're just on the train, we should like we honor a child's preciousness, honor each other's preciousness. That's what came up watching it.
Beautiful.
I have a question.
Oh, come on up. Yeah.
I have a question that I just thought of for both of you. Actually, I feel like I'm originally from Japan, and then I feel like I have some lingering question, or my being is actually like a lingering being in this country sometimes. And then do you feel that apology is a defeat?
By giving one or
Giving one.
do you feel giving an apology is?
It's like I lost, you win kind of thing.
I think a lot of people do feel that way. I think a lot of people do, and sometimes we feel that way ourselves.
Uh-huh.
I would say that it really depends because, if I'm in a leadership position, I want to apologize because I want the people who are subordinate to me to know that they can trust me, and not to feel like I'm the kind of leader who ignores people or ignores the reality. Yeah.
I just feel like sometimes that, American people do not want to apologize, even if they are not, even if they feel like they are at fault.
Absolutely. Well, look at this comparative analysis a little bit. I know this is there's some issues with this comparison, but in Canada, I think we have this scenario where sorry is more in the language, and people are a little bit quicker to have that deference of, oh, I'm sorry, in the scenario like this, the sorries maybe come a little quicker. And I think feels very true that in the US, a lot of us
Okay.
feel that an apology is a taking down of pride a little bit, maybe.
Right. Well, it's just that sometimes when I read books like this, or actually I haven't read this, but when I read the like self-improvement type books, and then you should apologize. Yeah, like for example, Japan. People apologize all the time for nothing, and then like you don't have to apologize, but like when you come up and talk to people, they say, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. They just constantly say, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. That's the way that they speak.
Yeah.
That's the way they do.
Yeah.
So even they're not making any mistakes or not at fault, but they just constantly say, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. So, and then, I was just wondering, like, okay, so it's like, because the one thing, like when I was in Japan, like when I was young, and then when I was about to come to US, and then the one thing I learned, like when you have some sort of, if you're involved with an accident or something, like a car accident, I learned that don't ever apologize, even if it's your fault. Yeah. And it's true, probably that's what you learn, right? And then in Japan, that doesn't mean anything, actually. Saying apology doesn't really mean anything. The fact stands, fact matters, even because they know that everybody apologizes to each other.
Yeah,
so saying I'm sorry doesn't really mean anything. Yeah.
Right, like it's an interesting like cultural dimension, right? Because like in this Western culture, I'm sorry can come with punishments and retribution and all kinds of things because you said that. They say no good deed goes unpunished, right? Like, and I guess that's true in a situation where there's a car accident. But as you were saying, but then in Japan, the culture is so different that people really value each other's time and space and energy in the culturally. It's a very similar thing. There was a study that was done, and I'm sorry that I'm not citing this study. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but anybody can email us, and I'll gladly share. But there was a study that was done where they had Western viewers and I think Japanese folks and Eastern folks going to see different artwork. And so the Western folks and the Eastern folks would both look at Western and Eastern art. And what was remarkable about it was that when Western folks would go to see like Japanese art, they thought it had no perspective. When Japanese folks went to see Western art, they thought it had no perspective at first. And that only changed when certain cultural aspects about both cultures' art were explained to the audiences. And then the audience would walk through the show and say, oh, there's perspective there, right? Like as if it had always been there, right? Because they knew that it was being thought about differently.
And they
it was from a different orientation.
They got that understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they were able to enjoy each other's art.
Awesome.
I wanted to mention something if it's my turn.
Yeah, go ahead.
What was just said about not apologizing at a car accident, for instance. I think that might be a function of capitalism because you're supposed to protect yourself from your insurance company.
Right, yes.
I may be taking it too far, but I think that's very possibly an issue. That's why we're taught. Oh no, never say you're sorry at an accident because then it's going to be your fault and your rates will go up. So.
Yeah, very, very cool thing connected to our culture and economy. So yeah.
Yeah. But which is still true in Japan though.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I mean, because after all, they will do some investigation. Like, if it's pretty obvious and the both drivers saying that, oh, it's my fault, and the other saying, no, yeah, it is your fault, then it's pretty clear. But if there's an investigation that they cannot say it wasn't clear, then there will be investigation, and then if somebody's fault and it's clear that that was that guy's fault, and then the insurance rate is going to go up. Yeah. So it is the same thing. So
We have investigations here also. I just think that it's possibly kind of a cultural unspoken understanding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting.
I'm passing to Kevin.
Yeah.
Say one more thing. I'm very appreciative of the multiculturalism in this training, and it goes to show if you're doing dignity work, if you don't have a diversity in your space, you really can't do strong work, because all the things brought up, different perspectives, different cultures, it's very valuable. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, all of you. I know we've been keeping Jay has an important thing coming up now, and Jay has sacrificed to be here with us. So thank you so much, Jay. Thank you.
Yes. Anything for dignity. Anything for dignity. And as a parting request, if anybody has role plays, a lot of the folks on this crew have had various dignity role plays that we have been thinking and will be showing, but always looking for more. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Jay.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you so much.
See ya.
So now we're going to have another role play, and it's going to feature Tim and Sharon. I want to just tell our audience here that this role play is an exploration. Both Sharon and I are both Jewish, and this is an exploration about anti-Semitism. And in this group in the past, we've done explorations on anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, all kinds of bigotry. In fact, Kevin and I have a really important one coming up. Can I say a little bit about it, Kevin?
Of course.
Yeah, about St. Patrick's Day and the bigotry against the Irish. So that will be coming up. But I want to just say, and I'm going to very quickly, before you get into the scene, I want to just put at the bottom a little trigger warning that we're demonstrating anti-Semitism, just for people in the audience, just so that somebody doesn't get surprised while we're doing that. So I'm just going to do that very, very briefly, and we're going to set the stage and we're going to go. Does that sound good to everyone? And Kevin's the director of this, but Kevin, I'm going to take you off the stage while we do it.
Yes, and Beaei, I really think it would be very powerful if you directed this as experience in this. So I'm going to be present.
Thank you, Kevin.
I think it should be do that way.
I also want to acknowledge that you were supporting Sharon in her passions as a Jewish woman.
Yes.
And so I want to acknowledge that, and I appreciate. We'll work on it together. How about that?
Yes, that'd be great.
Okay, great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little trigger warning here, and then as soon as that's there, I'm going to take folks off the stage, and then you and Tim can jump into that. Does that sound good to everyone?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I'm going to come off the stage, And as soon as I come off the stage, you and Tim can begin just after that. Does that sound good?
Well, it's really nice to see you. I'm glad you came to visit, and we'll have to do it again sometime.
Thank you, Sharon. I really always enjoy being with you, and thank you very much for the bagels and cream cheese. I bet it was hard. I'm sorry?
Don't forget the locks.
And the locks. And I bet it was a little hard to pay for that, wasn't it? I'll see you next time.
Oh. Why do you think it's hard to pay? Curious.
I was just joking. I was trying to make a joke about not wanting to pay for things.
And I'm just wondering why you would think that of me, or if you do think that of me.
Oh, I don't, but it was, I was just making a bad joke. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah, I would be surprised if you had said something offensive to me, because you're a delightful, wonderful person. So I would have been really, really surprised. And I absolutely did not assume that, but I just had to double check and ask why you might be asking it.
Thank you so much for asking. I wouldn't want it to be misunderstood.
Oh, thanks for that. Okay. Have a good trip back.
And cut.
See. All right. Now I want to I really enjoyed that. That was really very, very powerful in a lot of ways. What did folks notice in all that? What did you notice in this?
I noticed that I threw in something that I shouldn't have.
Well, we could talk about, like, we could say maybe it was a little bit challenging because there was never a clarification if it was about being Jewish or not, right? So that's actually a really challenging. That's actually kind of how it happens a lot of time in real life, is that somebody will be saying this, right? So actually I think it was interesting and good, but challenging, right? Because there was no specific thing like, oh, you're Jewish, so as a Jewish person, wouldn't that be a funny joke, right? You didn't even get that, right?
Are you saying that our exchange was subtle, and in being subtle, it wasn't getting our point across?
I don't know, but like for instance,
To me, it just increased the realism.
I wasn't taking,
Because that's so often in life, an exchange can be unfolding, and I'm at once trying to figure out if the person meant to be insulting, if they didn't. Like you said, like, you're always so lovely and you're my friend, so I wouldn't have thought you would be trying to insult me. So was it on the basis of my ethnicity or religious identity? Was it completely a general statement, like you would have said it whether the person was Jewish or not? And at the same time, as I'm trying to figure out like what's happening in a conversation, the other person is maybe waking up to, oh, did I mean that? Like, did I say that thing because of what I know about this person's identity? Or was it completely unconscious? Like, what, they're trying to kind of find their footing in the exchange as well. So for me, it wasn't that it was too subtle. It was that the subtlety of that, and the fact that neither one of you made explicit whether it was a joke, if it was a joke, on what basis. It was just very realistic.
Yeah, and I think actually at first I was like, oh, this is too subtle because I'm an actor. So as an actor, I'm always like,
Pump it
the
up,
audience
pump
isn't
it
going to
up.
get this, right?
Right.
Like, but like actually, this is really good because very often when somebody says something to you like that, they're not being explicit about it, and so I want to
Microaggression.
Yeah. Does anyone else have to share anything you noticed? Was there anything else anybody noticed in the scene that strikes you?
I wasn't. Okay. I actually didn't quite get the just the moment when. Did you say the lax, right?
Lots.
Like so that you're talking about the smoke storm,
Yeah.
right? And then so I wasn't really sure that he actually means that a lot of the smoked salmon could be very expensive,
Right.
or is he actually referring to Jewishness? I wasn't really
Yeah.
So,
right. And so it makes
so
even,
that
yeah.
was too subtle, I think. So,
That's what I'm getting at a little bit.
Right.
That if we do it again, we don't have like. I think it serves the purpose for now. We don't have to like try to redo it and make it perfect right now. But I think next time if we do it, we should be a little bit more specific, right? But I like the balance of it not being too specific either, because I think that's a real thing. And so I want to ask, exactly, which temptation to violate dignity, which ones are involved? Which elements of dignity are involved? I want to ask folks that.
I felt like that I could have taken more accountability earlier, but because I didn't, increase the tension and the ambiguity.
Yeah, right. Like there's a sense that like in the situation, right? You could have said, you know what, Sharon, I really messed up. Please don't kill me. Please, you're one of my best friends. I value you so much, right? Like, I thought I was being cute and I made a joke about you being Jewish. And I really regret that. You know, that could be something you might choose to say.
That gets into engaging in false intimacy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I have made a joke sometimes, at some times previous in my life. I've made a joke and with the intention of it being like an inside joke to be a tiny little like rebonding moment of like, remember, I know this personal thing about you and you know that I know the thing. And so like, we can have this little like witty repartee, and the other person is like just not in a place to have that witty repartee or doesn't feel actually understood. Like they don't feel like I'm actually accessing their truth. And so by leaving all of those contributing elements unsaid and just coming out with the joke, it can feel like a major violation when in fact it was me reaching for intimacy. And like, you know.
Oh yeah, I mean like epically, you know, like it's an epic fail sometimes, right? Like
Bad.
Yeah,
it can be bad.
Like I do this a lot actually, where I will make a joke, where I will speak in the voice of somebody else as to how they're saying something, and I'll put words in their mouth they've never used, and they're like,
What the fuck?
Yeah.
You think I'm like that?
Like, yeah, exactly. And so it's just, go ahead.
Oh.
No worries.
What the?
Oh, you're muted, Kevin.
Oh, yeah. We're not hearing you, Kevin.
Just unmute. Oh, there you go. I hear your voice.
So, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I was just noticing that Tim, he put it out there, and then he kind of noticed, oh, I can back out of this. Maybe she's not really upset. I'll back out now. And then Sharon was like upset, but kind of laughing because I'm not up for being upset right now. You know, oh, I'm wounded, but he's not quite dealing with it. And so things didn't go well either way. I mean, Tim was backing out and Sharon was injured by indignity.
But part of what I was trying to demonstrate was giving the benefit of the doubt. And I probably wasn't very clear about that in our
Oh,
exchange.
you
Oh.
benefit of the doubt, yes.
I see. That's great, Sharon. And it's interesting. So that's interesting too, because you didn't have to do that in the sense that, it was the first version of it. You know what I mean? But it created an interesting, different challenge for us, right? Because now it's not a challenge about giving the benefit of the doubt. I think it's a challenge about something else. One thing I didn't hear, and I know you kind of engaged the conflict, but I felt like you avoided the conflict a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, and that's good because we're trying to learn about this stuff, right? And so that's what we're trying to learn about. What might you have done in that situation that respected Tim's dignity? Could you have done that would maybe bring the conflict out more? If Tim was kind of sidestepping carefully.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said, Amelia.
What could you have done differently to kind of not let Tim off the hook? You know what I mean?
I could have
But also while honoring his dignity.
Oh, let me back up on that.
Sorry, I threw in a curveball there.
Oh no, I'm still learning this. Because I was about to say I could have confronted him more directly about what he may have been intending, but then you said without hurting his dignity. So I have to think about how to do that.
It's challenging, right? Like it's challenging. Does anybody have any ideas of does anybody want to maybe try to step into Sharon's role for a second and try to do that? If you don't feel comfortable doing it because you're not Jewish, I can do that too. And you can tell me what I might try. I've got some ideas too, but does anybody want to try to step into Sharon's role for a sec? If you don't, that's okay. I've got an idea too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tim, you were scratching your chin.
So can we take it from the line where maybe take it from where if you're playing Sharon, Kevin, and
No, you're going to have you do it. Oh,
you're going to have me do it.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Well, I wanted you to do it.
Okay, so Tim, can you take it from the part where why don't we just take it from the top? Okay. Tim, it was so lovely having you over today as always. You're such a wonderful guest, and I hope you enjoyed the fejones and taralicus.
It was so wonderful to be your guest, and I always enjoy myself at your home. The bagel, cream cheese, and lox was delicious. I hope it wasn't too expensive. I know you don't like to pay for these things, but we will see each other again soon, right?
Say a little bit more about too expensive.
Well, you're Jewish, and Jewish people don't like to pay for too many things because we have to be prudent with our money. Yeah.
I see. So you were making a joke about me being Jewish.
Yeah, it was just a joke.
Yeah, I understand that you were trying to make me laugh a little bit, and I get that, Tim. There's a long history as a Jewish person of suffering because people stereotype us as stingy people. And Tim, you're one of my dearest, most beloved friends, and I know you didn't mean anything by it, but can you understand why that would be hurtful?
Totally. Yes, I am so sorry. Thank you for not letting me get away with that and explaining to me what was going on.
You're very well. Maybe we can talk about this more, but you're very welcome. Thanks, Tim. And see.
Thank you.
Tim,
So-
that sorry sounded very Canadian. Excellent job. As a Minnesotan, that was spot on. Beautifully done.
And I want to say real quickly. Now, if Tim had avoided me, Tim didn't avoid me because I said, "Can you say more about that?" But if Tim did avoid me, I could have also said to Tim, "Tim, you were talking about me, this being too cheap and stuff, and you're not really saying much about it. It's a little bit maybe it's nothing, but I have a strange feeling about it. I'm noticing in myself, and I'm not saying this about you, but I'm noticing in myself that very often, sometimes anti-Semitic things get brought up this way, and and you can approach it in that kind of way, that's also a way it can be approached.
Like if I tried to back out again, very subtly.
Exactly. Then I could come back with that a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else we want to consider for this role play? Is there anything else we want to take into consider? Any other options we might have, or anything that could go wrong? Yeah, Sharon, I see your hand way up.
I'm noticing that I had written down something that I might have used as a retort or whatever.
Go ahead.
Okay. That if Tim was suggesting that Jews were stingy or something, I would say that I've heard that about Jews, but frankly, since I don't know all Jews, I can't speak to that. Do you think I'm stingy? And
Wow. Yeah. So you're actually asking a question there and challenging Tim to really to sort of, you're actually laying out the science of the stereotype and what a pseudoscience it is, right?
And I feel that way about everybody. Unless you've spoken to everybody, you cannot make a generalization. That's
Yeah. No, this is great. Is there anything else anybody wants to share? Are there any other options we can consider that we haven't thought about so far? There obviously are more, but does anything come to mind to anybody? If not, we've got one more role play. Are you both ready?
Yeah.
Do you want to set up and I'll just
Yeah.
And again, I'm gonna take you folks off the stage again.
Now I'm hungry for bagels, though. Bagels and cream cheese. The lox less. Lox I don't go in for.
Oh yeah, I love that.
Maxwell loves it.
Oh yeah, I love it.
He takes my double portion of lox. This is a little scene set in a corporate atmosphere where I am just finishing up a work product that I believed I was tasked with making, and my superior is going to come in on me just finishing up my work, and we're going to have an exchange.
What is this?
Oh, I'm so glad that you're here. I'm just finishing up, so you're getting to see the tail end of me finishing
What?
this incredible signage that you asked us to make for the whole office.
I didn't ask you to do this. What is this? What is it? Elements, dignity, and temptations to violate the dignity.
Well,
What the hell is this? I didn't ask you to do it. To do this.
I mean, I can bring up the email that you sent to the whole corporate office.
No,
where you were asking.
I asked you
Yeah.
to make this whole place pretty, so that when the customers they come here and that they get impressed with this place. What is this, like some sort of social service or something? We're running like just a business here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I thought that your intention for like making signage for all the customers to come in and see was so that like our company ethos would be displayed and we would have some amount of transparency,
ethos.
like so that they could understand how committed we are to the, elements of dignity and
I mean, do you think there'll be a lack of dignity here? I mean, like, what are you promoting here? I mean, like, we're here to make money. Here's a place of business, okay? Yeah, I didn't ask you to do this. Just take it off.
like take it down.
Yeah, just take it down. Like, I didn't ask you to do this.
Well, I mean, why don't we go and look at the email right now? I can bring it up on my monitor. 2 weeks ago, you said, ER, make sure that all of the elements of dignity are posted and all of the temptations to violate, so that everyone that comes in can see that like we care about these things. So
We care about money.
we do care about money.
Yeah. We care about this.
I'll take it down I'll take it down. I'll take it down right away.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
thank you.
I must
Thank
have
you.
misunderstood.
Yes, you did.
See, I didn't actually want to tear down my beautiful work. These will stay up forever. In my office, our office, where these things do matter,
Yes.
and we don't care about money at all because we don't make any. So, what did folks notice about that little role play?
Oh, you're muted, Tim.
I noticed you tried to give your superior a little bit of benefit of the doubt by offering to show him the emails.
Yeah.
So it was like a way to help him understand what was going on.
Yeah. It's hard to know sometimes, like, how to remind someone, like if someone's in like kind of a position of more power and ostensibly like a position of more omniscience, like they have a bigger view over the whole office or whatever the case is. It's hard to know how to like kind of remind that person, like, no, I'm pretty sure this is exactly what you said, right? In a way that like doesn't then make them feel embarrassed, or like you're trying to embarrass them, and so then they like react and it just becomes like even worse. It's hard to show receipts sometimes in a way that saves everyone face.
I was embarrassed for him.
Well, I mean, this is kind of a reenactment of the how I feel, because the I was her position, and then quite open, and then well, I don't know what to do. Yes, so yeah.
Yeah, these positions. Oh, go ahead, Kevin.
I was just gotta reflect on what's been said, that the big thing through all that was power. I'm exerting my power, I'm exerting my power, I'm exerting my power. You're looking for dignity ways, I'm exerting my power. And it's really a common thing, this is not unusual, and a beautiful role play for us to think about today, because so many of the indignities incur with the power imbalance. So it's an important role play. It was well done, and that's what I noticed.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So I mean, I often feel like, okay, where should I go with this thing? Because like I often feel like actually the confronting with the with facts, it's not going to make the situation better actually, because yes, I often do like send back the email. Okay, here's what you said. I do that, and then at least I have to just defend my position. And then, but at the same time, I don't want to make the situation worse, because it's just that I have. But yeah, I mean, just like I don't know. Yeah, sometimes I feel like really conflicted, spot, and then should I just really confront, and then show that I was just obeying your order, because I sometimes feel like is it gonna possibly actually embellish him in front of other people, and then I'm gonna get the retaliation afterwards. And then so I think about the other,
You have to
potential.
think 5 moves down the track to try to.
Right.
No, go ahead.
That's one of the really challenges of workplace stuff. And Donna Hicks has very, very specific advice around this too. We can talk about that in a second. I want to give the group a chance too, to now that I think we're starting to think about solutions, right? Like, what do we do about this? What should we do if we're in this situation at a workplace where this happens? As we go into that, I want to just say what elements of dignity, what temptations to violate dignity might be relevant in this scene. So while you do that, I'm going to put up the elements of dignity.
Oh, on the thing.
Well, if you take the bait, then you're going to have an argument, or it's not going to turn out well,
Right.
because of the power over. But if you save face, are you really doing yourself any favors?
Right. I mean, that's a little bit what Makoto and I talked about when we were starting to work this role play, was what's the line between standing up for yourself and saving face? Because Makoto said that when he's been in a similar situation before, he's kind of like the fallback position is just to reply all to the same email thread, so the company is still seeing all of this still, and for posterity saying no, but here's like the literal quote from your initial email, boss or whatever, saying this is what I want. And even that seems like a defeat. It doesn't really seem like upholding my dignity fully, and it doesn't even engage with your dignity as the boss.
Are you saying
that's like a lost cause?
Mhm.
Like, I don't think that I'm going to make any headway in terms of like upholding your dignity or getting you to reflect, right, on what you're even interested, what you're after, right?
Right, right,
it's
right, right.
Like, I'm done with the whole thing, and now just for posterity's sake, I'm trying to cover my behind.
So you're saying is, if you're in a situation where the boss is asking something unreasonable of you, right? Like, and expect, like they sent you the email, there's a record of it, right? And then you send it back, you're saying that's undignified in this, is that in the sense that, like, by defending yourself in the situation, you're kind of having to explain yourself? Like President Ronald Reagan said, you know, if you're explaining, you're losing. Right? Like, is there some of that in there, or is it something else?
Well, there is well, she was actually saying that, you know, I sometimes I'm complete at loss because, you know, it's not about the winning or losing. It's about the I always get the what the hell are we doing here? And then
What reality?
Because I mean, what purpose does this, you know, this whole argument serve? And then why is he doing this to me? And then because I always feel like, you know, if you are my boss, and then aren't you supposed to defend me, or aren't you supposed to just come to me and ask me if you don't, you know, if the your instruction, maybe because possibly he's gonna embarrass himself in front of the his boss,
Right.
you know, because his instruction wasn't clear to me.
He's not showing good managerial skills if
Exactly.
he gave you a task and then gave you no further information,
Right.
and then is just calling you out for doing a shitty job. Like, how does that not, you often are thinking to yourself, how does that not reflect badly on him? Like, how, you know, what is he getting out of this exercise?
Right, and why is he like broadcasting all this? You know, the little city incident.
Yeah.
You know, so I always like, I feel like, wow, I feel like I'm in a black hole, and I just don't understand what's going on here. You know, why is he doing this, and what purpose does this serve? You know.
Yep, I've been there.
Can I?
Yeah, Sharon.
Yeah. It seems to me that ER in this case, or Makoto in real life, is between a rock and a hard place, because either you embarrass the boss by producing the email, or he walks away thinking you don't know that you're doing a bad job. What was that noise? Anybody know?
I don't know. I liked it though.
Sorry. Yeah, that leaves you, you know, with your boss thinking you're a lousy employee and maybe he shouldn't keep you. So, you know, what is the preferable solution from other people's perspectives or opinions? I'm done.
Yeah, Tim.
I think this is one of those situations where you can express your value of compassion by accepting the moment as it is, and also you can practice integrity, your value of integrity, by practice your skill of composure, and just understand through your own power of self-control that nobody can make you angry without your permission. And if you can just realize that this is a problem that's on your supervisor and that they're going to have to deal with it eventually, and it's not you that's doing it, then maybe you can have that integrity and compassion for the whole office. You can sort of hold that space in a kind of nonviolence and compassionate way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So what I hear you saying, Tim, is don't take the bait, as you were saying before.
Accept a moment as it is. You cannot change this person.
Yeah, so that's been kind of a struggle. I mean, like I do have some psychological thing, like, I know I want to defend myself. I know that,
I know.
sometimes, after all this happened, then, I always try to imagine the scheme that I can just, trick him and so make, get him fired. I mean, don't we all do that?
100%.
But
This is how we survive most of the time. Coming up with these little fantasies.
Yeah.
While we're drifting off to sleep. Yeah.
I think what Tim is suggesting is, and I've talked about this within this group, holding our own dignity. If other people are too stupid to give it to us, it's not a nice way to put it, but nevertheless, that if you can say, well, I'm, doing what I was told to do and I did a good job or whatever, just hold your own dignity. I think that is healing rather than the frustration and the anger, which is very normal. But if you can get past that from what Tim is saying, it might be. This is what I'm hearing as I'm listening. It might be a healing thing. If not easy necessarily, but you can do it if you want. And yeah, that's what you've said.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said. Like when I was doing the scene, amidst the enormous like physical shame, like I started to get, even when we were just rehearsing this, I had this like biofeedback thing happening where I was blushing and feeling, it was like all too real suddenly. And I was like, I felt that, oh my God, I really have screwed up. And I felt totally gaslit. And this is with Makoto, whom I love and respect, as much, if not more than anyone. But amidst all of that, where I started to feel like a core of personal like peace or serenity or integrity, maybe is like the word, was when I started to talk about how the aim of posting these things, like the original aim that I had located, and like you gave me this task that I interpreted this way and I put them up this way, and there are things here that I think are really good, and saying those things out loud are neither an explanation exactly, nor
I know. I often feel like, don't you see this, the beauty?
Right, exactly. I do believe in that somehow, and I believe in holding, like, if others can see you in this like public, if you can turn this moment of like someone trying to kind of like get off on humiliating you or trying to make them, aggrandize themselves by belittling you, just pointing to a third thing that's neither your ego nor their ego, but just saying, like, look at the hearts. They're beautiful. Like, this is good. This is good to have in the office. It maybe allows, there's like a little bit of space that opens up, and the boss might not actually learn anything. Like, you might not be able to affect their behavior ever. But others are watching you, and others might like the hearts or whatever. And, then they could come to you later and have conversations, or maybe nothing, maybe no one ever refers to it ever again. But it's, a little bit of what Tim is talking about, like holding that space. Kevin.
I just wanted to say what you're describing, you role played beautifully. I could feel that, that you saw you weren't going to change him, but the calmer you got, the more you named the things that were important to you, the more dignity you retained, even if he wasn't going to honor your dignity. more. You just role played it beautifully. That okay, I'm not gonna win this, but within myself, I know I'm doing good work. Other people may value it. I'm calm. I'm not taking the bait. There's always another day, and it may not be to change him. I think that's very important. And the role play really brought it out the way you did it. I could see you even transition into, okay, well, you started to name the things and okay, I'll take it down, but you didn't lose because you still, people in the room could see what you stood for and your own calmness and centeredness. So I think that's it felt terrible to endure, to watch you endure it, but you endured it with dignity. Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny watching everyone's role plays. It is funny how sad it makes me just watching them or just hearing them. You know, this work is really hard and great, and you all have been such wonderful co-participants with us and co-creators and audience members and
I'm so
notice.
glad you're here. I would.
So glad to be together.
Yes.
I'd also say one more thing, and this came out as I was watching the role play. So as I watched the boss that would not give you dignity, if I was enduring that, I would be thinking, who does this remind me of? Something I've experienced in the past. That's why I'm being triggered, because I'm thinking, this reminds me of someone else that didn't show me dignity. So some of that helps me go past that. I say, oh, I see. I'm being triggered by the way I was wronged in the past too. Intergenerational indignity. So it's,
For sure.
I can get some more healing and more strength by realizing that this represents something that hurt me before, and I'm going to take care of myself and try to stay in my power as much as I can. I can't win the argument today, but you remind me of something that happened to me before.
Mm. Yeah, that's powerful to hear, because what I failed to account for in that scene was that I've had that experience before in life and didn't know how to care for myself sufficiently following a loss of dignity like that, or a violation of dignity like that. And now that I'm older or wiser or different, whatever, I have some tools that I didn't have in the past. And so, yeah, treating it as like, oh, this reminds me of something. What does it remind me of? It does then allow me to take greater responsibility for my self-care
Thank
in
you.
the after times. And that's really important for me to remember. Thank you, Kevin. That feels like a personal gift for me. I appreciate it.
And for all.
Yeah. I want to say, so we've been here for a while, and this is going really well. And I want to say there's a lot that's coming out in this. And as we're working through this, one thing, are there any solutions that folks feel like we haven't considered in this that we feel would be good to consider? I have some thoughts, but I want to share them after everybody else has shared their thoughts. Now I'll back up for a second so you all can see. And if you're in the audience too, feel free to share. Yeah, do you want to mind the comments?
I remember in the past we've talked about when we uphold or protect our opponent's dignity, we raise our dignity.
Yeah.
And if that's the case and you feel your dignity being violated, then if you could somehow do a jujitsu move that kind of embraces them with dignity, all of a sudden maybe you could de-escalate the situation and come out a little bit better off than had you not tried to at least preserve dignity for the other who's offending yours.
So Tim, are you suggesting like more recognition and acknowledgement?
Yeah, something like identity recognition, maybe acknowledging that they're responsible for your time as a kind of a superior, and that there was a misunderstanding and time has been wasted, and how can you be right there to support your supervisor who just got confused, and like, I know you're trying to run a good business here, and there was a misunderstanding or something, like, be first to support them in their frustration, maybe.
Right. Like, so you're saying like saying to some effect, right? Like, I could really understand why you're frustrated right now because you're not getting what you think would be a vision of what you think would be success, or something to that effect, and really try to like take into account what they're saying. Now, there's a challenge there, which is that you obviously don't want to write yourself a bad report, right? Like, that's the challenge here sometimes. But I think also you can acknowledge somebody, you can recognize what they're saying, you can understand them, and you can still be fair as well. Fairness can still matter, and accountability can still matter too. I have some thoughts about solutions. I'm not going to say my thoughts yet. But Tim, I'm hearing what you're saying, and I think there's power in that, right? Sharon.
Yeah, I just wanted to make one comment about this, that if you are able to give the boss who's giving you such a hard time and having a hard time himself and so on, if you're able to heal some of that for him by giving him dignity, you have gained, hopefully, an ally. It's always nice to have a boss that's an ally, right?
That's the dream.
Yeah, like, people, that's how you survive. Are there any other thoughts about solutions that we want to put on the table before I say what I'm thinking? Oh, cool.
Well, I very often think that, I got this really, I tell myself that, I cannot really control other people. And then I also think that he's, after all, such a weak human being, like other people. And then, he's always feel like, oh yeah, he's a big sucker, but he has a reason to do that. So, I just feel sorry about it sometimes, and then that he had to do that, because I just feel like, why, there's really no point of doing that.
No, there's a sympathy that rises up, and I have a really active sense of this sympathy for the opponent or sympathy for the enemy. It shows up really strongly for me, and often it just adds, like, if I'm already feeling social panic come up, or like anxiety or whatever, or I'm feeling ashamed, then feeling sympathy for how hurt they must be to be reacting in this way, or to need this kind of interaction, then that's added on top of it, and it really like throws me for a loop. But I think maybe there's something about being able to, like, if I can practice giving voice to that sympathy instead of keeping it all inside, maybe that would help.
What you're saying reminds me, if I may.
Yeah.
Like, what you're saying, very often, like, you'll be on the phone with some business, like a bank, or like an insurance company or something, right? Like some bureaucratic institution, and you'll be talking to them, and they'll have like some really dumb policy where it's like, I don't even like your company anymore. You know, like you're being such jerks and like it's making things really hard for me. You don't have to do that, you know? But I'll be talking to a representative of the company who's just some poor sap that's following orders, who's trying to keep their job, right? And so I'll say to the person, I'll say, you know, I'm really upset, not at you personally. I think you're just trying to do your job, and I don't take that against you. But I'm really upset at your company. I've had this relationship with them for all these years, and I've been a loyal supporter. And it's really disappointing to me. It changes my image of the organization. I don't take this on you personally. I know you're trying to do your job, and I'm not doing that. But it's a really bad policy you have, your organization. And so I try to keep that separate sometimes, in line with what you're saying.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that occurs to people of solutions that we could consider? Yeah, Sharon.
I wanted to ask ER, since she brought up that she has this innate sympathy for other people's travails. Can you, and you say that you keep it, you don't utilize it towards them, you keep it for yourself. I'm wondering if you can apply that sympathy to dignity principles to help them learn how you might be able to apply it and get it out against you, and have it advantage both you and the person that you're talking with. Basically.
Yeah, I think a lot of the reason that I just internalize it is because I'm afraid of embarrassing the other person, right? Because it's like, if you're having this interaction where someone's coming off in like, maybe like very aggressively or something, and the first thing that comes out of my mouth is like, oh, you must, like, who hurt you, baby? that you're like now hurting me or treating me this way, like who? That is very, even if I genuinely mean that, like that is an exposure, right? Of like the other person, it can be like an exposure of their soft underbelly. And that like has always, just the way that I grew up in like a Scandinavian, like Minnesotan, you know, like no one share any feelings, no one talk about anything, and it'll all be fine as long as we don't bring all this stuff out into the open. That's like my default, is just like swallow it. But I think, Sharon, that you're, and Amelia, like you said also, acknowledgement, like acceptance of my identity and acceptance of your identity that you're coming into the interaction with, would go a long way. And it would make me have to do less self-care. Like my recovery from that interaction would take a lot less energy and time. But it's risky, right? Because like we're having that interaction that we just had, and my solution, or one solution that I come up with, is to make explicit your identity and the power dynamic and all of these other things. You know, that's me characterizing you. It's me calling you outside of your name. And it could be, especially when you're dealing with someone who over and over again, you found them to be a less than rational, interlocutor. You have no idea how they're going to hear your characterization of them, even if you think you're characterizing them in the most generous way. and assuming that they have integrity. Sometimes it still seems to be the opposite. They don't want to, they just want you to shut up, kind of.
I hear that. I want to just throw back one thing that I'm wondering. That sometimes if you were to present this issue that they're grappling with and you can understand it and you grapple with it, if you make it about your issue, oh, this has happened to me, so that they can sort of relate to that. Sometimes I feel like when you do that with somebody, it helps them go, oh, it's not just me, it's human, and they can feel a little better about it, and that might diffuse some of it. But that's just a suggestion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, just, you know, for information, it's just that I feel like this company has a little toxic culture, and then it doesn't happen just to me, you know, with other people, and then sometimes I do get the, you know, CC like, oh, they're doing it again. Well,
He's at it again.
Yeah, I'm not, you know, I'm not involved directly, but oh, I see that, like, you know,
Right.
send it to me now.
I'm not saying that you will necessarily cure it all, but I'm saying it might be worth a try to get a feel for what direction it might go or whatever. Because there are people you're not going to change, and so on, clearly.
Yeah, and I want to speak to that. Do folks want me to start talking about some of the things Donna Hicks talks about, maybe a little bit, and then we can see again if there's any more ideas, and then we'll start wrapping up.
I need the learning, but I also have a 7:00 deadline here.
Got it. What time is it now?
Quarter of.
Okay. All right. Cool. Good to know.
7?
20 of.
East Coast.
Oh, I'm in,
Oh, I have to go somewhere too.
We lost ourselves in the scene.
Yeah, we're
just that good.
we're in 2 different time zones here right now.
Okay.
And 4 different states, yeah, at least, if you count the audience, might be more. One of the things Donna Hicks brings up in her original book, Dignity, is that very often we walk into these situations, we don't know if we're walking into a situation with a narcissist, you know, who would throw us under the bus without a heartbeat, you know, going by. So we have to always be aware of that, right? Like for instance, I wanted to ask you if you could say whatever you wanted to your boss, what would you say to your boss? Now, we don't have to flesh that out just now. We could. That could be interesting, maybe for a different show, where we take the scenario again, right? But like that's an interesting scenario. And one of the things she says is you've got to ask yourself, if I want, like, you might want to have a really intimate conversation with your boss. You know, like maybe I say to my boss, there's a really great example in her book, actually, where she talks about a situation with a boss who's harassing his employees. And everybody's terrified of the boss. And what happens is, this is based on a true story of somebody who works with Donna Hicks. The woman who was a colleague of the boss, one of her subordinates was attacked by the boss and humiliated. It's almost the exact same way, Makoto. She's doing something and he says, you know, I could find, you know, you're messing this all up, you know, basically. I could find somebody else who could do this on my staff. So easy, you know, a lot of people are looking for jobs around here, you know, that kind of thing, right? Like, and the woman actually, she's a colleague of his, right? So that this was her subordinate, and she didn't feel like her subordinate was an ideal messenger. So she became the ideal messenger in this case, and went to him, and she had talked to a lot of other people at work, and she said, "Listen," you know, she said, "I really appreciate you. I value my relationship with you. I treasure it, in fact, and I really want this to work out. I want us to have a better working relationship together. But, you know, when you do this, it's really hard for a lot of people. And I'm not trying to step back. I'm not trying to say you deserve to be punished. I'm not trying to get you in trouble. And she gave a lot of different caveats. Some of them I can't even remember at this exact moment, because like she thought of a lot of really good ones. And she said, you may not be ready for this conversation. This may not be something you're ready for. And I want you to just think it over. I'll be at my desk all night tonight. When you head out, you don't even have to say that you want to have a conversation with me, but maybe you just want to stop by and say hello and let me know you're okay. And the guy, when he first heard her saying, I want to have this conversation with her, he says, this sounds like bad news. And she said, no, this is good news. Now she had to game out in that situation that she could get fired. And do you have another job lined up if you're going to do something like that? What's the other job you've got lined up? So that if they do fire you, you move into the other job, right? Like if you don't have that, and she actually talks about how, okay, well, if you don't have that job lined up, then maybe you do have to ask yourself, what do I have? Do I have to help him save face in some way? Now you're going to be letting yourself get traumatized in some sense repeatedly, right? Like and that can't be taken lightly. But you might, what she points out is that you also can use the dignity model to contextualize for yourself when somebody's treating you, when somebody is violating your dignity.
Yeah.
You don't have to, with that, you don't have to, if they're violating your dignity, you don't have to just go along with it and suffer in trauma. You can contextualize. So, okay, if this person is treating me this way, like they're doing all these things that are violating my dignity is still here, and you can have different exercises. She actually goes over this, and maybe we can practice these sometimes in a future session. Exercise you can practice if you're having to survive in this kind of situation until you can actually get out.
Oh, we need to practice.
Yeah, and so
on another day.
Yeah, but so that's part of it, right? And so there could be this really intimate conversation you have with the boss, but you also have to like make sure that you don't get yourself fired, get in trouble.
And it could be something like Fred Rogers always said, for the helpers, right? There is something, and it's similar to actually what I was doing with Marvin earlier. If you are in a just a lower like executive echelon of the company, and you are not yourself an ideal messenger, right? Like your boss is never going to hear it coming from you because he's always going to look at you in this subordinate way. Being able to like kind of sniff out and find folks that might be able to like bridge that divide. Like your boss might be able to listen to them act as like an intercessor, like on your behalf. That is a skill in and of itself, being able to find the allies.
Yeah, and that was the thing Donna Hicks was saying in that situation, was that she was intervening for a subordinate.
Yeah.
So that's exactly what happened. And what was amazing in the situation was the boss actually said, you know what, my wife tells me this all the time. This is when he came back down later in the night. He said, my wife tells me this all the time, and I can never take the way she says it to me. And he said, the way you said it was so different, and it's made me reconsider everything. So not everybody.
Saved my marriage.
Yeah, no, like it's wild to like think about these situations, right? Like she's a person who negotiates with warring parties, right? Like this is not trivial stuff, and it's like, wow, like not everybody who does violence to each other is a total narcissist, right? Like maybe we can pull some people back. We can't win every time, but the thing about it is making a society where it's easier to have these kinds of successes and building infrastructure in places or systematically, like it's not just, you know, it's an interesting thing, right? Because like you were saying earlier, in Japanese culture, there's a different kind of attitude. And that's something that folks have built up over many, many years, right? And it's not so simple to say, okay, well, America, now do it too, right? Like it's a lot of work, right? But like that's part of what we're trying to think of is, can we train teachers who teach this work and get them in 50 states? So like when we're doing this work, folks who are in the audience, we are teaching teachers here. So if you want to learn how to teach this stuff and join us in this adventure, we want to make this happen in every single state in the country, because you know what? And Puerto Rico, and every territory, and every world, and every country, you know, we want this to be everywhere, so that people have in their community people who can help them through these tough situations that ruin people's lives, that destroy lifelong relationships, that leave people with feelings of regret. So this has been like, so it's a challenging situation, but we're not powerless. We can make choices, and we can take stands, and there's a lot we actually can do. It doesn't mean yet we're all powerful, but it does mean that we have power and we can use it.
Thank you, Amelia.
You're very welcome. You know, would you like
Thank
a hug?
you, Makoto.
Oh, let me give you a hug.
Makoto, group hug. Yes. Someday we'll all
Makoto.
be in person together, and we can share that very awkward group
Anybody
hug.
who wants a hug consensually may have a hug. I'm using a Chekhov gesture, psychological gesture.
Check out.
Michael Chekhov? Yeah.
Yes.
So, any last thoughts from everybody?
I have one quick one.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Of course. I wanted to say that I have learned how to say Makoto's name better, and I feel good about that because it's a lovely name. Because at first,
It is a lovely name.
yeah, I couldn't really understand it, and what I came up with wasn't nearly as lovely as it actually is. So I'm very
I love that, Sharon. Thank you for sharing that. 'Cause
Sure.
like,
It happens.
names are like names plus technology is like never a very good, recipe. It is.
And I have to tell you, me and technology, not good. Amelia knows this, and I have a friend about my age who also says she has tech ghouls and goblins, and so I adopted that. And one day I was writing to Amelia, and I told her that Tech hates me, and she said, "Yeah, I saw it outside, deflating your tires." We got to get and that's
Can occur.
Oh my God, that was Sharon's response was hilarious in that too.
response.
What a hilarious response from you, Sharon. When I said that, you know, I think I saw Tech deflating your tires the other day. Yeah. Sharon was up in arms with pitchforks. I was worried for Tech.
I can imagine.
All right, that makes me feel.
I won't say all the characters that emerged, all the characters that we had to bleep out.
Okay, it's
It
something.
was funny. It was funny.
Okay, I can't remember. It would have increased your rating here, right?
That's right. That's right. Any other thoughts?
Yeah, I just had thought in closing that I just wanted to honor everybody's work and commitment, their commitment to vulnerability, their commitment to processing, their commitment to helping each other. And so my wish or my ask is realize how strong and powerful work you've done. So when you go home, Try to be around someone that loves you. Try to eat good food. Try to drink lots of water. Try to rest. Honor anything that anything that came up. Any feelings you have, honor that. Honor your courageousness and your intelligence to do all this work today. And I just wanted to say it. I'm thankful for it, and I want you to take care of yourselves for all this.
Thank you for being a part of it, Kevin, always. And I came up with a role play that I'd like to see us do at some point. I'd like for Amelia to be here to hear it. Or I can just type it to everybody at some point. But
Yeah, I would love to. Do you want to say it right now, or do you want to?
it'll just take a minute. I mean,
No, go ahead. Be my guest. Be my guest.
Well, listening to everybody and so on, it occurred to me we should have a role play. I would like to see a role play about the Palestinian protesters who have been accused of anti-Semitism, and in my opinion, it's anti-war. It's not anti-Semitism. So I would like to discuss that.
Yeah, we would like to. We'd love to have some role plays also where we invite folks who are Palestinian, Jewish, Israeli, bring a lot of people together and really talk about Islamophobia, anti-Arabism, anti-Semitism, which also, as a Jewish person, I have to say in solidarity to people like Dr. James Zogby, anti-Semitism originally meant Arabs too, and that the qualities that were being applied to Jewish people of being stingy, of being they were being applied to Arabs as well, and Muslims as well, and so it's anti-Semitism is all of our problem in the Levantine world, and so I appreciate that, Sharon.
We're all brothers and cousins from the same, originating area.
Yeah. So true.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, I know.
Any other last thoughts from folks?
Just a big thank you to Mikoto for sharing your experiences and courageously letting us pull it into the Dignity Laboratory and work some chemistry on it. So I hope it's helpful and that it gives you some grounding for the week coming. And yeah, it's not easy what you did sharing like that. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much to everybody who's joined here tonight and who's with us. This is really a beautiful night because this is our first. People may not realize this is our first hybrid event that we've done that's both in person and virtual. And the work here that we do is made possible by this beautiful studio that we're in. ER, do you want to share a little bit about this project?
Just come on by whenever you are in Chicago. Not if you find yourself in Chicago, but when you find yourself in Chicago, because it is one of the world's great cities.
Road trip.
Yes. Come on by to Theater Y and see some of the amazing work that is unfolding and being amplified over here on the west side of Chicago. West side's the best side.
Yeah, west side, best side. In fact, every Friday here, there's a Swerve event. Mikoto hosts a movement improv workshop here on Wednesdays. That's critical. Do you want to say a little bit? Mikoto, do you want to say a little bit about it, just briefly?
Yeah. So this is the kind of the workshop. It's called the Jazz Theater, and then so this is just the new sort of like a movement-based the style of the theater, and then I incorporate what is it, like the vocalized, the sound effect and the gibberish, and then create the structure, and then in the jazz like a structure, and then that's something that I've been developing for some time, and then both Amelia and then E are part of this workshop, and I'm really excited about this. And then I hope that a lot of more people will come and do the work with us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you're not able to attend in person, you have got to see Makoto do his thing. His body is incredible. His vocalizations are incredible. And his gibberish is like one of my favorite things in the world. So definitely keep in touch with Theater Y on social media and on our website, because we'll have some videos at least of Makoto and the rest of us having fun and playing. Yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah, so much thanks to Theater Y and this lovely studio that we're in here at Theater Y, and this is also sponsored by Code Whatever, nurturing 21st century literacy and human rights. I've put in the chat for anybody. We're a 501c3 nonprofit, and we do all this work on a shoestring budget at remarkable low costs. And so please donate to us. It will help us give stipends to people who volunteer bravely, who have less resources than the rest of us, to be able to do this work with us and learn to teach this work. And so we're really grateful to everybody here. Every Sunday at 10 a.m. Central Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, we also have these trainings in a Zoom session. You don't have to come on a live stream to participate in this. You can just join our Zoom session in the privacy of your home. And so every Sunday, 10 a.m. Central Time. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, for braving this very brave work. Thank you to Jay, who's no longer here today, but Jay is one of the major organizers in this work. Thank you to Tim and Sharon and ER and Makoto, and that might not work here.
It's not gonna work.
But thank you, everybody. This work, and there's going to be also, Dr. Kevin, do you want to talk about the psychodrama training that we haven't set a date for again, but that will be coming up again soon?
It's just a training that we're going to do at the famous Theater Y. An honor to do it there. I'm so grateful. The training is an inquiry, how dignity is related to psychodrama. Psychodrama is a healing therapy. It's something I have spent a lot of time with in the past. I'm glad to share it. And it's going to be very powerful. And Bea and I have spent a lot of time organizing the training. I'm grateful to her, but we're very excited about it. And whoever can attend, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I'll be attending that. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you feel better soon.
Yeah, I was infectious today, so.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you everyone who's joined us today, and thank you for being here with us. Thank you to all the brave actors here who have dared to stand on the stage, and thank you to our audience for listening to us. Thank you so much. This has been a beautiful day, and we'd love to have you all here again at Theater Y, enjoying this incredible work. Thank you so much to everyone here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, always a pleasure.
Love y'all.
See you next time.
Okay.
Next time, for sure. Are there transitions?
I do hear some lovely music. I don't know. Oh, Amelia's must be arranged